Hi everyone, hello. Let's see who is here. Hello, Jack. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you, Bonapublica, Maxime, Paul. Good to see you guys. We're going to start today's topic. This is our ninth AVC subcommittee meeting. It's insane that we are already in our ninth call. Hi everyone, thank you for being here. Hello, August. So we have some amazing topics for today. But before starting, we have also exciting news. We cannot believe it. Well, before that, as always, if there are new people in here, if this is your first time in our meetings, well, welcome and thank you for being here. As always, we're going to be sharing our Notion with all the links that you need to read in order to know more about us. Hello, your name. Thank you for coming. So this is our Notion. Let me see because we have also upgraded some things. So we take the time to show you our our new Notion. Okay. So we have, I don't know if you have read previously, but we also announced that we have changed some of our documents. So everything is in here. They are you see the online governance strategy document, the license code, the AVC operational code of conduct, which we are also seeing that Clocky have some comments of it, and it's very welcome. Thank you so much, Clocky, for always have some feedback for us that help us a lot. And of course, the information of our delegates. We are excited, and just a minute, I'm going to show you more about it. And not only that, but just in case if you have missed some of our calls, every call is in here, so you will be able to watch it if you miss any of it. Basically, this is it. And well, if you already know about us, and I see a lot of familiar faces, thank you so much. If you appreciate our work and share our values, please become an aligned delegate of our Sovereign Finance AVC. And well, mentioning, of course, as always, thank you, Blue, Paul, and Clocky. Well, just a few weeks ago, we only had two ADs and three ADs, and guess what? Well, now we're celebrating on incredible milestone as we are proudly announced that we have currently 5 ADs on board, and we couldn't be more thrilled and of course grateful for this fantastic growth. This is for us a clear sign that what we're doing, our hard work is paying off. And of course, this gives us the energy and excitement to continue to push even harder, to make even greater improvements. So thank you all for this. Thank you all for the support and enthusiasm. I see that, of course, with every comment that you give us, the participation, it's very valuable for us. And so, yes, that's why we wanted to start mentioning this. And as I was saying before, there has been some changes in our operational manual updates. I read some comments that Hockey made, so I also wanna I'm gonna read it. I think it's necessary. So, well, Clocky firstly mentioned that public or private harassment, including doxing or revealing personal information of another community member, as well as making false accusations. Yes, we are. We know that doxing ADs it's kind of like um something that we are it's encouraged, yes, but that's not what we plan to. We don't want you guys to be in any kind of danger when it comes to your privacy or anonymity. So that we want to make clear, but also not only saying it, but in the wording as well. So if there is something that isn't clear in what we are approaching in our operational manual updates, of course, we are going to take into account. So thank you so much, Clocky, for the feedback. Basically, the operational manual outlines the code of conduct and guidelines. And our two changes was about attendance and participation in subcommittee meetings. We'd have seen, and we are proud to say that our ADs always comes to our meetings, so that it's I mean, nothing has changed. And what we're also adding is presenting proposals from our ADs. You could take a minute during this calls, during these subcommittee meetings, in order for you to come up with ideas, reach out, and anything that you find that it's interesting to add as an improvement, or anything that you, of course, want to share with us. Well, this is the perfect time to do it. Of course, we posted this just I think 2 days ago, so we are not planning for you to have a presentation for today, but we encourage you for next week to bring ideas. And of course, you can reach out to us through the Discord, through the forum, whichever works for you better. And you don't have to give a presentation if that's the problem with you, like talking. It doesn't need to be like that, but maybe some documents that you want us to share during the presentation, that will come um, awesome. So we could also talk about it. Also, I would like to know what you guys think about this. We have our delegates here, our ADs, and well, Clocky already gave us some feedback, but we also like to read some feedback from all of our ADs that are here. Penguin Soldier, Jack, of course, Palk, and Blue. So this is it. Um, and as always, thank you for being part of Sovereign Finance AVC. And of course, looking forward to your valuable contributions and engagement. I see that our ADs are writing, which that is fantastic that they're always so active. So I'm gonna read it when once they have saying some comments about this. While we do that, let me show you the topics for today. So we're going to mention the DAO Toolkit feature key points that actually we also mentioned this in the previous protocol scope. And we have added some more content into that, which involves a smart contract explorer and an executive proposal spell checker. And because we're talking about these spells, we find it relevant to also mention the post that Sidestream made in Sidestream, the ecosystem actors made at the forum just a couple of days ago, which involves a no-code tool for spell. So let's get started then. So, if you were not in our previous protocol scope, this is our proposal. So we've been working in a modification of the MIP 107 component 1.2, and what we like to add, it's a smart contract explorer. So we're currently creating, well, actually, big shout out to Anon Builder, which part AVC member, which is here as well, who came up with this proposal. And so I'm gonna try to do my best to explain this, but he's also here. So any questions that you have about this improvement of the toolkit, you can I mean, he's the one that knows better because it's his like invention. So um, this smart contract explorer, basically, it's an interactive interface that allows you to explore smart contracts within the Maker ecosystem. And it will provide details, of course, about the contracts and the transactions histories. Um, Also, what we find relevant is to add a security audits and report. So for the new, like in the new module, it will display audit results for smart contracts, of course, including the auditing entity and their findings, as well as monitoring, analysis, and visualization. Um, well, they're currently developing tools that allows you to visualize and understand key parameters of the protocol. And here we're talking about real-time monitoring of Maker's smart contract parameters. We're talking about governance and the Maker ecosystem. That's why, of course, we're currently studying different uh, measurement tools for this purpose. And also something else to add in here, it's about the token asset flow between smart contracts. And last but not least, we are adding as well an executive proposal spell checker just a minute ago, so I was mentioning. And this is in order to introduce a validation tool for executive proposals that it will provide an overview of the proposals smart contract about the spell, and this will highlight potential, let's say, problems or issues. And of course, this will increase transparency and voting confidence. um so let's find out more about this. We're going to start with the smart contract explorer, just this one. And uh, okay, so I'm reading in the chat, and Clocky says, "Would it be possible to make contributions in the form of text comments?" Oh, absolutely, Clocky. I will prepare stuff for the next meeting. Thank you so much, Palk. Blue says, "Full support from our side. We will prepare for next week." Excellent. Thank you so much. And um. And filter said, "As for the sharing, will there be a theme or scope to focus for?" Yes, next week there is already, we have a schedule for next week. I'm gonna put it also in here for everyone to know, which is stability scope. So please, to all our delegates and everyone who wants to contribute, if you have any improvements, anything that it's going to make this scope better, please, it will be valuable and really helpful if you could come up with something for next week. Okay, stability scope. Okay. Let's keep continuing reading. Thank you so much, Bengal Soldier, Rania AD. Okay. Okay, so we were here. So okay, so the Smart Contract Explorer. Um, Again, shout out to Anon Builder for this. This is a vision for a toolkit prototype, and it's going to make it easy for you to explore the inner workings of Maker smart contract. So with this graphic, imagine being able to select a specific modules, let's say module 1. So it instantly see all the contracts it contains when you click. And so a window will pop up offering different options. So in this window, you will find detailed information about the selected smart contract, just like this. And we find this important because Smart contract names can be confusing. So by providing clear descriptions, it's going to help you understand the purpose. And in here, you can dive into what each smart contract does. You can explore its variables and even inspect the source code. Um, of course, in addition to this, we will link any available audits for added transparency and confidence. Um, well, another fantastic feature is the ability to relate these contracts to the proposals being voted on. So as proposals may change the parameters of smart contracts, you're going to be able to monitor these change over time. Not only that, but in addition, we are creating a section where you can view the assets held within each smart contract. This feature will be incredibly, of course, useful in order to keep tracks of the assets and making informed decisions. Um, so what we are the reason why we're doing this is that in order for this toolkit to, let's say, empower you with real insights into the maker ecosystem, and most importantly, so it's user friendly, and of course it's going to give you an informative experience. And also we have the executive proposed spell checker. And well, to start this, we are putting a definition of what is a spell. Well, basically, spell it's a smart contract that contains the executable code of proposals. Um, and when aligned delegates support an executive, what they're doing is they are essentially a spell. That's why the names. That if approved, this will put the proposed changes into actions. So these spells, um, let's point out that these spells are unchangeable, and this means that the Ethereum contract code they hold is very important. It's crucial, and that's why also it's super relevant. It's super important to um, thoroughly review them when we vote. And in like if you're wondering how to review spell, well, you can find guidelines in that actually Maker has on this website. I'm also going to share this. So this is it. This is a guide, basically to help MKR holders verify specific executive spells in the Maker protocol. Um, and it's about making sure the decisions we make within the protocol are secure and accurate. I'm going to share this link. By the way, remember that all of our slides are also public, and you're going to find that every link is going to be there. Oh, there's some comments in here. Are the diagrams and other visions accessible as elsewhere? Yes, we are planning to share everything. Of course, this is just for the presentation, but yes, it's gonna be public. Uh, if not, might not include all the yes, and that's why we're putting in here. This is the link, which actually it's we based on this manual. That's why we're also finding relevant to share it with you. So these are the four sections that you're going to find in this. The first one it's finding the contract code, and in here, in this section, it explains how to locate the code for the executive spell on Etherscan. and it's essential to know where to find this code so that we can be, of course, transparent and well informed. And next, it's the validating executive code and copy. And this part focuses on making sure that the spell and its associate copy but well match what we expect. And by doing this, we can catch any potential problems or discrepancies before they become problems. There is another section that is anatomy of a spell contract. And in this section, you'll find examples of what the main sections of an executive spell should look like. And these examples act as a reference to ensure consistency and standardization. In the last section, it's a non-executive checklist. Um, Let me go there. So in this part, well, basically, this checklist gives you a list of important things to double check during your review. So it's like a safety net that help us catch any potential problems or issues that may come up. Um, and yes, this is a guide and this is like a step by step, but the thing is that it's if you don't have a technical background, it's very hard, it's very complex to understand. It's so that's why, and this is the reason why we come up with something more user friendly. Again, if you do have a technical background, if you're a dev, you probably that's easy for you to understand. But not all ADs, of course, have that knowledge, and focusing on that, um, that's why we have this. We since it's for a lot of people, for a lot of ADs, or it just in general, it's very complex. um we have this DAO Toolkit spell checker, which basically is going to detect if you're doing what you are doing it's right or wrong. And so we have this example. So that's a smart contract code match with the repository code. So it's green, it means that this is correct. The library's code in smart contracts match with the repository code. Again, this is what happens if there is something that it's incorrect. You're going to detect it because it's in red. Um, so with this, you're going to with this DAO toolkit, you're going to verify that the code that you're let's say uploaded to the smart contract, um, and you are going to know if what you're doing it's right or wrong because of these lights. Also here to mention this. Office hours I divided from 2 during weeks. Smart contract constructor, expiration timestamp. So this is what the DAO toolkit spell checker would look like. And yes, before going to the next part, which of course, since we're talking about spell checkers, we find it relevant to also show you the posts from Sidestreams from the ecosystem actors. But I don't know if this is the perfect time. And on Builder, you will tell me if you want to add something now or after I mention the post on.
Sure,
Yes,
sure,
go ahead.
Chris. And as usual, excellent explanation. And hello, everyone. Thank you very much for being here. So the intent of this system is actually to let the delegates know that the smart contract code in the spell is actually that the one that is supposed to be there, and it matches with the one in the GitHub repository. So a reliable way to do this, which many of you may already be familiar with, is the use of a hash. So a hash is a sort of digital fingerprint of the smart contract code. And if even a small change, such as adding, for instance, a period, is made to the code, the hash will completely change. Therefore, the Toolkit application can carry out this verification for us in a programmatically way, in doing so eliminating the risk of human error. And of course, at the same time, it provides peace of mind to the delegates who are supporting this executive. So if you want, Chris, we can also continue with the next slide. I can also talk a little bit about this. So here we have some points that need to be verified. Some of the executives have a high impact, so they need to be executed during office hours. So everyone is prepared of if something goes wrong. And we should validate that this is in the spell. Then we should also validate that the constructor and the drip function is called corrected. I think this can also be done programmatically. We should also make sure that the variables are constant, since I think there is a vulnerability that can be exploited if the variables are not constant. And of course, we should make sure that all of the variables, all of the values of the variables included in the spell are accurate, and we're not making any mistakes here. So this is it. What you're seeing here is actually initial concepts for the DAO toolkit. And we have put these mockups together just to start giving shape to our ideas. But we're aware that this might not be needed, or we may have to change some of these things. But of course, it would be great if you give us any feedback about this. And since we all enjoy Chris' way of presenting, including me, I'll let her take from here. And thank you very much, guys.
That was awesome. So if there is anyone that has questions, as you can see, he does have a technical background. Thank you so much, Anon Builder. And please write all your questions that you have. Also, feedback is very welcome, as Anon Builder mentioned, because that way we can also improve. But basically, this is the idea that it's currently in Anon Builder's head. I don't want to say it's mine, so Anon Builder's head, but it's any feedback, it's very welcome. And if, since we're talking about spell checker, we find it important to mention as well Sidestream post. They post this a few days ago, so I'm going to also share this. Everything it's relevant, and this is the craftless spell. So let me show you here, and also I'm going to send you a link so you can, if you haven't read it, also there. So why, of course, why we find this important to mention, since this is about no code tool for spell. And so in the post, it's basically what it aimed to make also the process of creating spells in the MakerDAO system easier and more efficient, which aligns what we also want to make it user friendly, more user friendly. And so what it's mentioned in the post is that currently they're creating these spells. It can be a bit slow, and most the most I think the disadvantage is that it's very complex, and these of course causes delays and can be confusing for new people. Again, not every AD has a technical background. So what they're suggesting in the post, it's using a special tool that they're calling craftless spell to automate the creation of these spells. And it will have ready-made templates for common spell content, so it becomes easier and faster to make changes. What it's also mentioned is that the tool will also have checks to make sure everything is secure and safe. And so by using this tool, there's what it's mentioned in the post is that the people who usually create these spells, and what I find very important, and it's that they can focus on more complicated and important tasks rather than that. And in addition, the system will be more flexible, and this means that adapting to the needs of the growing MakerDAO community. Um, and in the post, they also mentioned that the proposal plans, it's to introduce the tool gradually, starting with simple spells and adding more features over time. So this way, the whole process becomes smoother and more accessible for everyone involved. Um, and that's why it was relevant to mention here, because it's what we want. It's to make it easier to manage and improve the MakerDAO system, to make sure that it keeps running smoothly and but securely as well. And so this, and talking about all of this, it's time for our guest from today. So let me introduce you guys to someone that is going to explain it about more about this. And I'm going to stop sharing just in case, because then oh yeah, before moving on the post they have also these images that it's more in detail and explain more. So I would like to know, what do you think about what they post in the forum? So also please some feedback that you, if you haven't read it, if you think this is a good proposal or not, and tell us why. Um, everything it's welcome in here. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing for a bit. And say hello to our guest. Oh yes, it's here. Hello there, Water. He is from Powerhouse. He's going to here. He's going to join us in order to tell us a little bit more about everything that we don't know. So if you have any questions, before anything else, let's give Water time to tell us a little bit about you, about the work that you're doing. If you could give us a brief presentation of your background, that would be awesome. Hello.
Hi, everyone. And yeah, happy to be able to join. Unfortunately, couldn't join the first half, but happy to be here now. And I heard that there was already some interesting discussion going on about the proposal that was made by Sidestream. I'm just very eager to hear of like which questions there are and where we can provide more clarity. But I'll briefly introduce myself and Powerhouse. So I've been with the Maker project since quite a long time. I joined originally in November 2017. I've been a part of the Maker Foundation, of the engineering team. When the Maker Foundation later dissolved and Maker became a real DAO, then I was one of the founders of the Sustainable Ecosystem Scaling Core Unit. And then lately, with the new endgame changes, the endgame plan and the changes where the focus is more on working with external ecosystem partners and spinning off the ecosystem actors. That's also what we have done. So we have created a new team. This is Powerhouse, which is a spin-off from the SES core unit, the Sustainable Ecosystem core unit. And so with SES, we've always tried to support the different core units at Maker. For example, we run the incubation program that has onboarded a number of the core units that have worked with Maker. And we have always, the way that we put it is that we try to remove barriers between the decentralized workforce, capital, and work. So in short, we try to support the DAO in running its decentralized operations, making sure that the teams can operate in a proper way, that they can identify good projects to work on, and also that there are ways to provide funding for these projects. And so when we learn more about the end game and how the operational structure of MakerDAO is going to change, we took this as an opportunity to refocus our efforts on software development. And yeah, so while we were still the SES core unit, we already launched, I think, an important tool for transparency, budget transparency at MakerDAO, which is the expenses dashboard at expenses.makerdao.network. And this was really a first test of our ideas to start creating these operational tools to support the decentralized organization. And with Powerhouse, we made also our ecosystem actor introduction post that goes a lot more into depth about the different products that we have in mind, also in the future to further support the decentralized operations at Maker. So yeah, I think mostly we'll listen to the questions that there are and try and take the conversation from there. But to summarize very quickly, we have a product that will be focusing to build out the transparency reporting infrastructure. We have a product that would allow pseudonymous contributors to build up reputation in the DAO and link that to the work that they're doing at Maker. We have another product in mind that is a more technical data API, which makes all the operational data in the organization available to data analysts and also available for integrations by other developers, so to encourage a sprawling ecosystem. And then we have another product which is aimed at individual contributors as a private contributor tool, which would help them to run their teams internally, share data and documents in a way that is very privacy minded and where they would have full control over data ownership, so in a decentralized way. And then lastly, we also, as one of the final projects of the incubation program, we developed a prototype of the Maker Academy, which is the final piece that we have in mind. So the education and onboarding platform for the decentralized organization as well. And so it's really this mix of products that we are further developing the vision of and are trying to build out a roadmap that will bring as much value as possible to MakerDAO. And I'll keep it at this and just go by the questions, because I think that's probably more relevant.
Yeah, thank you so much. First, let me tell you that a lot of people think that you are the perfect person, and that's why that's the reason also why you're here. It's, you know, a lot about the DAO toolkit. So please, I encourage everyone to have questions regarding to the DAO toolkit. Walter is the best person to ask. Nevertheless, I see a lot of the powerhouse team in here. So thank you so much, Iperon, for being here. To Emre, to if you want to add something as well, thank you so much. It means a lot that you guys are here. You mentioned that you couldn't be or listen to what we share because we do have this idea of DAO toolkit. I don't know if you can give us some feedback. But we do have questions related to this, so I'm going to share with you this slide. But also, if you could explain to us what features the DAO toolkit will have, what what difficult parts you find as an ecosystem actor, and what improvements would you make to scopes in order to make your job more simple to facilitate it? Do you think that any of this, is there anything that we can help you with, like any of your role?
Yeah, I can definitely talk about that. So maybe I'll first talk about the question of what the major feature of the toolkit would be, and more particularly what we are currently focusing on, because the possibilities I think are really endless. But the question is, what are the priorities that we'll be focusing on short term? And so in our forum post, the roadmap is presented, which we are currently following, and we are really still at the point where we're focusing on the basics. So we have this basic transparency reporting platform in place, but there are still a couple of features missing to really make it shine. So for example, while we have the basic infrastructure in place for the different contributor teams, whether they're core units or ecosystem actors, to report on their finances, currently the platform doesn't offer a lot of possibilities yet to see the aggregated data. And this is incredibly important because the core units, as they are reporting on their finances, is very granular and detailed, and that's how we like it. But many users are interested more in the summary, in the big picture. Definitely participants that may not be every day involved in Maker governance, they need to have a better summarized version of the data so that they can see what's happening on a higher level. So that is one example, and this is the biggest piece that we are starting development on right now. There's another feature that we have been working on in the last couple of weeks and months, which was another very important piece. I think that was still missing, namely the on-chain data reconciliation. So the tool that we've used in production so far, it covered the missing piece of core units reporting on a monthly basis what they are spending the money on that they receive from MakerDAO. But this is manual reporting that, of course, since we are in blockchain, we want to compare this to the on-chain data and make sure that the numbers add up. And so this is another example, and one that we'll be able to launch really soon. So in the coming 2 or 3 weeks, you may expect a forum post where we will be announcing this new feature, which will help users to compare the reported expenses to the on-chain data, which is definitely a very important piece to get in place. This is all about finances and transparency in that regard, but DAO, of course, is more than finances. We also need to create transparency around the work that's being done, the roadmap that the teams are working on, the deliverables that they are working on, and what the progress is on the roadmap and the milestones. And so that is another piece that we are working on. We have been working with the other ecosystem actors, contributor teams to better document what the roadmap will be for the very complex end game project. And it's important that we create that overview, that we create some clarity for all the stakeholders, what the different pieces are that's being worked on, who's working on what, and internally for the contributor teams, that everyone can coordinate on the work, because this is typically something that Maker has been struggling with since it became a fully decentralized organization. There's been a lot of coordination challenges, and so this is the other piece we're working on. It's next to the finance picture, it's the roadmap with the deliverables, the milestones, determining who's working on what, and the coordination around those deliverables. And so that's the second big piece of the roadmap. And then those really are the basics, which we will add one more thing to, which is the project-based budgeting that we've been talking about a lot in the past, also as the SES core unit, which is basically tying those two things together. So once we have financial transparency, once we have transparency about the work that's being done, we want to tie the two together and make it much more systematic for MakerDAO to define the needs of the organization and give ecosystem actors the opportunity to submit projects with a budget attached to develop the software or do the work that's needed to cater the MakerDAO needs. So this will be the final piece tying those two together. And then after that, we can start thinking about the more advanced stuff, things like the reputation system, which should help to incentivize pseudonymous contributors to build up a reputation and basically produce work that is aligned with Maker goals and MakerDAO values, which is I think the more interesting part of decentralized organizations to explore these kind of mechanisms. Now, I want to tie it back to what is on the slide here, which are actually different things. And so the reason that I haven't mentioned those is because what we see here is an example of a more specialized module, specifically here about the smart contracts, security audits and reviews. So these are the type of specialized modules that can be plugged in or will be able to plug in the future into our platform and make available as a workspace space for the different scopes to do their specific work. And for that, we're not doing everything ourselves because that is too much work, but we are working with, for example, Block Analytica and other ecosystem actors such as Sidestream, to have those discussions with them, which specialized modules in their area of expertise that they would like to see. And when I mentioned the coordination efforts, so that making sure that all the work that we do is coordinated with the other ecosystem actors, for us, this is an important point, is that this decentralized operations platform that ultimately the MakerDAO contributors will use, and also the stakeholders, internal and external, that it is one single integrated solution, a single place where everyone can find information that they want. And so for these more specialized modules, we're working with the different ecosystem actors who build these specialized tools to make sure that everything will be seamlessly integrated in the decentralized operations platform. And so I think this already answered a lot of the questions, so happy to provide more clarification.
Wow, I think everyone is blown away. Everything that you have said about the DAO toolkit. Now we're even more eager to know what's going to happen and to see how it evolves. And yes, well, you have mentioned that you also have worked with and you're working with Sidestream, and I'm pretty sure that you're aware of the post that they uploaded just a couple of days ago, and I really we would like to know what are your insights on this.
Yes, indeed. So the post that I made is, from our point of view, this could be an interesting specialized module that can help MakerDAO to take care of its more specialized operational tasks. In this case, organizing the governance cycle and the spells that are that need to be crafted for Maker governance to make changes to the protocol, which is of course an absolutely critical part of MakerDAO's functioning. I know that there have been a number of discussions going on because the spell process is currently being challenged because of the different the changes that are happening in the context of the endgame plan. So the spell process has been used by MakerDAO since the beginning, at the very least since the deployment and the launch of multi-collateral DAI. When that happened, it also included a version of the governance portal, which since then has been developed by the DUX core unit. And so this process has been at the heart of Maker governance since the very beginning. Currently, it's being challenged because the operational structure, the framework is changing. We now have the different sub-DAOs that are coming into the picture, which want to make their own changes to the protocol, either Maker Core or maybe through the different modules that they use to interact with the core protocol. Ultimately, all these changes need to end up in a spell and need to be ratified by MKR holders, and the complexity of that is growing, which creates this need to have a more future-proof way of dealing with these governance cycles and the changes to the protocol. So in the medium to long term, I think something like what Sidestream is proposing will definitely be very useful, because we of course we have the Gov Alpha core unit, which has been doing a tremendous job to safeguard and organize the spell creation process so far. And I know that they already have a very solid internal process to coordinate everything, which is of course why things haven't been breaking. The other piece is that we need to mostly take their feedback into account as to what the exact pain points are of the current spell creation process and the voting cycle, and need to make sure that the solutions that we're offering really tackle those specific problems. And as far as I know, that's been the discussion that's been going on. The proposal by Sidestream in the long run seems very likely that there will be a module like this that will make that process, which has been run internally by GovAlpha, makes it much more visible. Make sure that like everyone can see what's going in the new spell, even more so than today is already the case, and that also the what comes before the spell deployment, so the different teams that contribute and collaborate to the spells that are being deployed, that part of the process also becomes better visible. So I think it's definitely the direction that we should go in. As to the specifics of the solution, I think mostly we need to talk to the people who have been doing this since the beginning of MakerDAO, and make sure that the solutions we're offering really take care of the problems that they are seeing with the end game changes that are being introduced.
Awesome. And now that you have brought up GovAlpha, and I think we can all agree of the excellent job that they've been doing. Well, I don't know if this is more of a personal question, but knowing that GovAlpha is no longer going to be, are you kind of like, how are you coping with this? Because we're now gonna longer have this uh excellent job that they've been doing, and you already mentioned that their role that they have, and it's very big in all of this. So, what is your position in all this? How are you going to manage that?
Yeah, so um, without without going into cliches, but it's a crisis, it's also an opportunity, right? So I think in a decentralized organization, we should try and organize ourselves in a way that we don't depend or critically depend on a single individual, definitely, or even a group of individuals. And so the way I look at it is that this transition, the fact that GovAlpha will be meticulously documenting the internal processes that they've been following, the fact that that they're quite responsible in that they are taking care of interviewing candidates to maybe take over the work that they've been doing, and so this is the point where we are forced to think about how we can make these processes more resilient. And again, GovAlpha has announced their wind down 2 months in advance, and has a very clear plan to deal with the handover. That's very good that that's the case. I think that's absolutely needed. It's a super critical process of the decentralized organization, but it provides us with this opportunity to indeed document everything and make sure that these processes that they can continue to be taken care of without relying as much as we did before on a single team or individuals. So that's really what I think is what we should do here, and this is the kind of the way that the teams internally are coordinating around this, is that we are talking to the people from GovAlpha, making sure that everything is documented, and we're exploring how we can make sure that every piece is taken care of, and that again the process that we put in place, that it becomes over time less and less reliable than single individuals, but that it's a well understood piece of the operational machine that other people can step into as well.
Totally. Yeah, this is a relief hearing this. There are a couple of questions that I'm going to ask you. This is also in the chat. So your future says, a question on exception handling. What happens if the automated spell creation tool encounters a situation it can handle?
Yeah, so
Mhm.
I think this is a situation that could definitely happen as we are building the tools to automate the processes that we're running as an organization. Definitely in the beginning, there will always be situations that aren't covered by the tool. So this just means that we need to think very carefully about how we start using these tools and how we can do it gradually and not like flip the switch one day and have no way back. So the way that you would deal with it is that the tool is first introduced as an optional component, and you basically still keep the manual process in place, and you use the tool to speed up certain steps in the process, and then gradually over time more and more steps of the process hopefully can be covered by the tool until the point where everything basically happens through the tool. And yeah, then still you need people to further develop the tool, to change it to changing circumstances, and yeah, of course, always have the technical knowledge to continue to do things manually. So this is something that is extremely important to get that right. It would be disastrous if we, as I said, one day flipped the switch and became reliant on a tool that may not cover some edge case that we need. And really, this is all about approaching the transition correctly and making sure that these tools are at the beginning optional, and that there is a gradual transition from the manual process to a more and more automated one.
Okay, and the next one also from our Youth Your Future is asking, can I customize some of these tools? Thinking about future ecosystem actors that are not here today, the centralized identity sounds glorious. Yes, so I would say that it's yes. Can you tell us?
Yeah, so of course one of our key principles is that all the software is open source. We go a couple of steps further, where we want to really not just make it available as open source, like as a window dressing thing, but make sure that it's really it's a well-maintained code base that is inviting for other ecosystem actors or developers or people in the wider ecosystem to contribute and to participate in. I think that the best way to go into this is maybe by giving a few examples. So as I already mentioned, there is, when you look at the entirety of the decentralized operations platform, there definitely is too much work to be done for a single ecosystem actor. So for example, these specialized modules we need to develop in collaboration with other partners. And so this is a first opportunity for us when we work with Block Analytica, when we work with ecosystem actors like Sidestream, is to figure out with them like what is a convenient way of integrating their work with the operational platform that we're offering as an integrated solution. And so yeah, this is something that we're very much focusing on to, for example, develop a plugin architecture so that the ecosystem actor, they can develop their own software and their own technology that they prefer, and then plug it into the platform and make it available as a part of the integrated solution. And the same pattern we're really repeating across the different products that we're offering. So for example, the decentralized reputation or identity and reputation solution really is a plugin architecture where you have different DAO apps that can plug into it and basically report their own user activity that they can then attach reputation points to. As an ecosystem actor, we're also looking beyond MakerDAO. So if you just imagine this tool being used by multiple DAOs and maybe contributors that are active in multiple DAOs. Yeah, this is, or for example, being active in a sub-DAO and in MakerDAO. MakerDAO and the sub-DAO, they are like apps that plug into the platform, and they each provide their own reputation points for the user. So MakerDAO, for example, might say, we're awarding this user a number of experience points because they're a contributor that delivered the successful project. And a sub-DAO might assign its own reputation points to that same user. And then you can see that, and it's like pluggable, and the different organizations that are plugging into the system, they can choose to adopt each other's reputation scores or not, right? So this needs to be built into the architecture. So yeah, two examples I've given. So the transparency platform is one where we're working with partners to build a pluggable architecture. We're doing the same thing for the decentralized identity and reputation solution. And we're basically taking that same approach with all the products that we're building. So will definitely be very extensible and very customizable. We'll have these, hopefully, these external teams that will be developing modules for the platform that we're providing.
There are more questions in here for everything you're saying, and people want to know more. Does Powerhouse share about the question, the QA test methods and results performed to ensure the toolkit is robust?
Yeah, so we're very early days, so the quality assurance today is more on the level of making sure that the prototypes that we're building, they're functioning. And so if you look at the code repositories that we make available, they have unit testing and the likes, so just the standard QA procedures for software development. The point where we want to lift this to a higher level, and I think this is one of the things that has actually been missing from the early MakerDAO organizational architecture, is that there wasn't enough of an auditing and a QA control functionality. So the way we want to do this is that, as I mentioned, we're building features to make it very transparent and clear what the different ecosystem actors are working on, what they're delivering. So this will be something that you can, for example, you'll be able to use the platform to go to a project. You'll be able to view the deliverables that are delivered by the different ecosystem actors, and you'll be able to click through to those deliverables, for example, the code repository that contains them. And then the next step is that we will be adding review and QA functionality on top of that. So for every deliverable that is delivered to MakerDAO, there should be a quality control review. And the way I see this is that these quality control checks, they really are what a decentralized organization needs in order to get away with without middle management, right? So in traditional organization, there is the middle management pyramid that basically checks all the time the output of the teams, and they get evaluated on it, et cetera, et cetera. This is not the way that we do things in a decentralized organization, but we need something to hold the teams accountable and to make sure that the quality that's produced is up to the level that we want it. And so we're not there yet, but once we have made the deliverables available on the platform, one of the next things that we'll be introducing is an auditing function. One part where you can already see that a little bit is the mechanism that we've built for core units to report their expenses, which actually goes through an audit process. So when the core unit submits their expense report, the auditor first looks at it. They can ask questions, they can ask clarifications, and then only after the auditor has approved the expense report, that's when the report is confirmed, and the core unit can draw their top up to continue their operations and to do the top up of their operational wallet for their continued runway. And yeah, that's one example, but we need to apply it in many more places, and that's definitely part of the vision.
Awesome. Here, Penguin Solder comments. Definitely, not only it gives the MKR holders confidence, but also gives the developers confidence to deploy it right. Yeah, thank you so much for everything. But actually, True Name brought up a question that I'm pretty sure everyone is eager to know more about. So please, Walter, can you comment on the progress with the guide, or KAIS, the Core Artificial Intelligence System?
Yeah, so it's the artificial intelligence work that I have the most insight in. So Yeah, right now this is something that is very much a focus of Rune. A key element of his vision and the latest iteration of it is that artificial intelligence will be not just a game changer, but a way for MakerDAO to distinguish itself from its competition. And as a result, there have been significant budgets that have been proposed and approved for working on the artificial intelligence mechanics. Yeah, I'm actually not 100% sure which part of that information is already public. I think we should definitely improve that and make it clear what is on that roadmap. But again, it goes to what I was mentioning. We need not just the financial picture, but also the work that's being done and the deliverables. But the different ecosystem actors, they have been coordinating around the end game roadmap, and so we are working with a number of ecosystem actors that are AI startups, which are building the functionality that will be part of that vision that Rune puts forward. I don't know how much documentation is already available for that. So, but if you think about AI, the kind of things you can imagine is that the AI will have a role on the end user level and also the governance level, and both of these things are being considered. As far as end users go, so I think we all can agree that crypto can be very complicated and confusing. The role of AI there would mostly be to do the data processing. There is this overload of information. There is an overload of complexity, and the AI can play a role there by processing that information and presenting a simplified view to the users, tailored to the specific questions that they have. And so for the end users, this is the kind of functionality that is being explored and that is being designed at the moment. There are early prototypes that have been built for. I mean, this is separate from the specific AI budget, but there was this very early test by the support scope where they created this MakerDAO chatbot that could answer questions. It was a super quick prototype, so consequently it wasn't very good, but an interesting experiment nevertheless. The thing that makes me most excited is the potential role that AI can have in governance, especially in the medium to longer term. It would be very interesting to see what happens when we feed in, for example, all the different scope frameworks, these long documents with all the articles and all the complicated the complicated rules, feed that into an AI system and see what can be automatically generated. So, for example, if there are inconsistencies in these documents, the AI might be able to point them out, and that might be very useful because it's very time-consuming for humans to read through all of them. Another example might be that QA and review functionality that we just talked about, which is so sorely needed. This is another one that AI might play a big role in. It doesn't mean that we need to fully rely on the AI, but AI might help in flagging anomalies in terms of governance proposals that are being made, in terms of the deliverables that are being produced. If there is anything out of the ordinary there, maybe something that people might miss, AI could play a role there to flag that, identify it, And if we dream a little further, we can even imagine fully automated QA and reviewers, for example, that would produce AI reviews of the deliverables that the ecosystem actors are producing. And we can imagine the feedback mechanisms that a decentralized organization can build in to steer the AI output to something really valuable and useful. For example, giving positive feedback if the AI agent makes a very pertinent review, or voting it down if it's talking nonsense, and then feeding that information back into the language models to improve it over time. So these are the kind of ideas that are being explored. The specifics, again, I'm not exactly sure what was published about it, and I think we can do much better there. So that's maybe something that we can also work with Rune on.
What you mentioned there about the complicated rules and the time consuming when it comes to all this documentation, I think we can all agree, and definitely AI could help improve all of this. There is a question from TrueName, and it says about Scope Advisory Council member, do you have suggestions for what ADs, AVCs should propose for the improvement article regarding the AI work ongoing? Did you hear my question? You are muted.
Yes, but I believe this is this a question to me, or is it for the?
Oh yeah. No, yes, it was. I say that the question was by TrueName, but yeah, it was for. If you have any comments on this about suggestions for what ADs or AVCs should propose for the improvement article regarding the AI.
Yeah, I think what might be very useful is providing a perspective of what are the perceived priorities, right? Because these AI work is really it can go in many directions, and many of these projects they're potentially very exciting to explore. But I think it's important that we focus on the features that would bring the most value, and of course balance that against the amount of work that they would take. So to help in that prioritization, I think to collect some input from stakeholders, like which are the AI features that you find most promising. Where do you think that AI can play a role in the near future? Like what might already be possible with the technology we have today? What do you think would be most impressive, and in other ways bring most value to MakerDAO? I think that kind of feedback and input is very much needed, because, as I said, like you can go in many directions, but it's important that we find that product market fit, and you will not find it without that external feedback. So I think that's one of the things that can definitely be provided by the AVCs. And then another thing is, I think, is to continue to push on more transparency. And as I said, I think we can definitely do better in communicating the work that's ongoing, and making sure that it's clear for everyone what the different deliverables are that the AI teams, for example, will be providing. And so that's another one where I think that kind of pressure and setting that bar, that's very useful.
Improving communication, definitely. Well, thank you so much. I know this probably was longer that you have expected, but this was been so much knowledge for us. So thank you all of you for your time, especially for you, Walter. There is one more question. It's not related to the topic, but it might be relevant with everything that it's going on. Um, do you have an opinion on runes enhanced DSR proposal?
Sorry, can you ask the question again?
Yes, to put into context about Ron's proposal about the DSR. Do you have anything to comment on this? Not really.
Yeah, no, that one I'm going to leave to others. So our focus is in the
Okay.
operational aspects. I think if there is someone from, for example, Block Analytica on, they might have a better formed opinion about it.
No problem. Thank you so much. There have been a lot of questions, so this has been really, really I think very productive for art to learn more about the toolkits, what it's coming. We are all bullish on everything that you have mentioned. So thank you so much. And of course, also to all the people that ask questions, to our A delegates, Clocky, to Penguin Soldier, to True Name for all the questions that it has asked, to Paul, to our also our youth, your future that was on fire with the questions. Thank you so much. And if you have any other question, you could also put it on the chat. Um, well, which was a little bit longer than was expected, but of course, to our everyone, to our ADs and everyone that wants to be involved, participants, do we have a draft? We're going to share the link of this on the chat. And before leaving, I'm going to give you once again, Walter, the time for you to say goodbye. And if there's anything else you want to add about Powerhouse, please do it.
Yes, thank you. Well, just very happy to be on here. So we've spent a lot of time developing our vision internally, just cranking on the roadmap that we're already building. And yeah, I was definitely looking forward to have more engagement with the community as well. So please do read the forum post that we published if you haven't done so, and feel free to add any questions or comments there. So we'll continue to have these discussions in the future as well, because they're much needed. And yeah, thank you for organizing this.
Yes, please. And also, please share the link on the chat so we can all interact and have a comment, have a feedback on your post. So to all the team to Powerhouse, please leave the link of the post. And well, everyone, our next week, the next week, we'll talk about stability scope. So please don't forget to bring all that you need to our ADs, especially comments, ideas, proposals, suggestions for improvement. We're looking forward to that. And we have our 5 ADs. So if you are an MKR holder, you can delegate to them. That will be all. Thank you so much for your time and attention. Bye bye, everyone.